Our sacred reading this morning comes from Matthew chapter 2, verses 1 through 12 from the Common English Bible. Coming of the Magi. After Jesus was born in Bethlehem in the territory of Judea, during the rule of King Herod, Magi came from the east to Jerusalem. They asked, "Where is the newborn king of the Jews? We've seen his star in the east, and we've come to honor him." When King Herod heard this, he was troubled, and everyone in Jerusalem was troubled with him. He gathered all the chief priests and the legal experts and asked them where the Christ was to be born. They said, "In Bethlehem of Judea, for this is what the prophet wrote. You, Bethlehem, land of Judea, by no means are you least among the rulers of Judea, because from you will come one who governs, who will shepherd my people Israel." Then Herod secretly called for the Magi and found out from them the time when the star had first appeared. He sent them to Bethlehem, saying, "Go and search carefully for the child. When you found him, report to me so that I too may go and honor him." When they heard the king, they went and looked, and the star had seen in the east went ahead of them until it stood over the place where the child was. When they saw the star, they were filled with joy. They entered the house and saw the child with Mary, his mother. Falling to their knees, they honored him. Then they opened their treasure chest and presented him with gifts of gold, frankincense, and myrrh. Because they were warned in a dream not to return to Herod, they went back to their own country by another route.
So, throughout our lives, we've all heard different aspects of this story of the three wise men, or the Magi coming to find baby Jesus, right? They're all different, and they all have different meanings to them. What are some of the things that you hear from this story this morning, or that you remember growing up, or what is your sense of what is happening here?
Miracle.
A miracle has happened. And these folks are interested, right? They want to go see it for themselves. Hannah.
Don't always trust the authority figures.
I can always count on Hannah, right? Don't always, in fact, never trust the authority figures in this story. Right. Why, Hannah?
Because the moment they went to him and were like, "So, where's this king?" They were like, Herod's like, "That's me. I'm the king."
I'm the king. What king are you talking about?
And then, they got a bad vibe and a dream that was like, "Don't go back there."
Yes. They tipped Herod off that there's this new king, right? And Herod's like, "Oh, wait, come again? A new king has been born? Where was that again? How can I put that into my GPS?" And what did Herod end up doing after he learned of this? Right. He freaked. He put out a charge against all babies. He was non-discriminatory, but whoever this baby king was, look out. So what did Mary and Joseph then have to do with little baby Jesus?
Went to Egypt.
They did what?
They went to Egypt.
They immigrated to Egypt. Huh. For their safety. Huh. Jane brings the comedy this morning. I say it tongue-in-cheek, but I don't. You know I don't. They did. They immigrated to Egypt out of safety for their son, who they knew to be God, or the Son of God. Maybe. Maybe they knew. Mary had some sort of inkling that something was up.
Back to Egypt, though, that's where they came from.
Yes. So a lot of things are happening. The Magi, they want to come and worship and praise this gift, this miracle, right? So what do they bring? Gold, frankincense, and myrrh.
Weird baby gifts.
Weird baby gifts, yes. But But they were probably in that time, they were probably like the most honorable type of things that you could give, right? And now I'm sure it would have electronics or something. But so they're bringing this, they don't know Mary and Joseph, they don't know this family, they just know that they're following this star and that's where the baby is, and they're going to go worship him and praise him. They don't know why yet. At that time, they just knew that something special was going on. We have the gift, all these years later, of knowing why we come here and why we still proclaim this faith to be ours, that being Jesus' later teachings. That's the gift that I think that we were given. Jesus being born was an event that started the reason that we call ourselves Christians today, because Jesus was king of the who? Jews, not king of the Christians. There weren't Christians. So why do we call ourselves Christians then?
Because we follow Christ.
Because we follow Christ, right. So in those very early lessons, Mary and Joseph are teaching us one important lesson, that they were protecting their child among all else. Come hell or high water, they were going to protect their child. So many of you I know are parents. Raise your hand if you wouldn't have done the same if you knew that a king was coming to kill all the children. I'm glad none of your hands went up. Don't we see this, though, today? I showed you a map a year or two ago. You might not remember it. But the Wider Church Ministries of the UCC put out a report and showed the history of immigration basically from that time period to present. And it showed just this massive things that happen right now in like the Middle East. So when Syria began bombing its own people, including children, what did they do? Fled, right? I would. So they go into Europe and everywhere else. Once they're there, Europe can only hold so much. So where do they go? East and west. Canada, United States, South America. When there's no more room for them, and it's not just Syria, there were Iraqis, Iranians, you name the country. They were all war-torn. And again and again and again through the course of history. So they flee to protect their families. And they end up somewhere. That still happens in 2019. It is still happening today. Did Egypt block Mary and Joseph from coming in? No. So, what does this say behind me?
Wise people without all the answers.
Right. The people in that time, those three wise men, were actually quite naive. They knew that something was happening, and they're wise and they're important in their positions, and so therefore, they felt they had the right and obligation to be there to see this miracle baby, King of the Jews. They were important in their own right. But they didn't want to keep that. You know how it is when you have a little bit of knowledge, or you find out something, about something, and you want other people to know that, you know just a little bit more than they do. So what might you do? Maybe share it with them. Oh, you didn't know that the new king of Jews was born? Any idea where he might be? Oh, you didn't know? Oh. And that's what happened here. They were so naive. They learned this news, but they didn't have the full story. And might there have been a good reason for that?
For a while, then you can't keep up with every part of the news while you're traveling without, kind of like if you went somewhere without any sort of Wi-Fi today, it would change so rapidly by the time you got back to Wi-Fi, you could never catch up.
Right. If I tell Connie something, and she passes it to Sue, and by the time it gets back to Chad, just on this side of the sanctuary, you know the message is going to get garbled. It just is. Kind of how our Bible is. Unless you were there when they actually wrote it, it doesn't mean the same thing any longer. Because it's been passed on through translation after translation into various languages over a history of time with opinions of what should be and shouldn't be. So anyhow, back to my point. There is a few points here. There were wise men then, and there are wise men and women now who don't have all the answers. They don't have all the answers. There are pastors that stand before their congregations week after week. We don't have all the answers. Far from it. It's not our job to have all the answers. Nor is it any person in government's job to have all the answers, any world leader's job to have all the answers. It is all of our responsibilities, however, to listen to one another, to learn from one another, to check our morality and see what feels right before we make a decision, before we take an action, before we take a stand on something, to check our faith. Where is God leading us here? Is God really telling us to torture these people? Is God really telling us to do this, that, or the other? Or is that a decision we're making based on lack of information, or lack of courage, or lack of faith? What are our decisions based upon? We are all wise people without all the answers, each and every one of us. That's why it is so important for us to come together, and come together as people of faith, to say, what is right about this? What is not right about this? Could we be going about this a different way? What path is God leading me down today? These past few years have been, I just realized that next Sunday will be my 5th year with you. Believe it or not, I've been here that long. You've given me a lot of gray hair. That's why I have to keep it so short now. But in 5 years, just the amount of things that have happened in our world are just amazing. There have been so many wonderful things within our congregation and within the community and whatnot. But there have been so many things that we've had to work through together. Tragedies or injustices, inequality. But we've done it because we've done those things I just said. We've checked our morality. We've checked where God's leading us to be. We've checked our faith. And we've chosen the right moments to stand up. Just having a little moment. A good moment. Because I'm thinking back how courageous we've been able to be. Though we are wise, without all the answers, we were wise enough to seek out help in getting some of those answers. One of my worst and cherished memories of this congregation is when Pulse nightclub massacre occurred. It was like a day and a half later, we held a vigil on our front lawn. A very public display, and a very dangerous one for us. In a way, we had the news of Herod being angry, and we said we don't care. We need a place for people to come and be and grieve and be who they are, and we will love them. And we did it. We've done other things since then. So I like the fact that we're wise without all the answers. Churches and leaders in government who claim that they have all the answers are the ones who scare me the most. If I walk into a church and I hear a pastor say, this is the right way, this is the only way, and this is my way, and you shall do it this way, I would turn and walk out the door. Our faith is not, your faith is not proclaimed by me. My faith is not proclaimed by you or the United Church of Christ. I say it almost week after week. Your faith is your own, just like your fingerprint, just like a snowflake. We have to decide as we begin this new year, 2019, it's a brand new year, clean slate, at least for us. Clean slate. We're going to go into this year, and it's not going to be an easy year. In our country, in our world, where there are hungry and wars and you name it, where drug epidemics are overcoming our own communities here, where violence is still rampant, where unemployment and underemployment, regardless of these job numbers you hear, still affects so many in our community, where education is put by the wayside for so many, where gender inequality is still rampant, where the LGBTQ community, the African American community, and the Latino communities still face so much aggression towards them, to the point of violence. This is where we come in. This is where we enter in 2019, as we did the 4 years before now, and many years before my arrival. But this is what we do. This church feeds the hungry. Every month, and throughout the month to the elementary school. This church stands up for things that are right, for treating people who are right. and the way that they should be treated with dignity as children of God. We stand up and we say, God is love, and God gives us God's love freely. And we are charged then, this new year, we are charged with going forward, treating that as our central mission to go out and make this world a better place through reaching out to individuals who are in need, to standing up as a collective group and saying, don't treat that group of people like this. We stand against it. To finding new missions and ministries to add on to the many that we already have when we see that need out there. Because that's who we are. That's who we are as a people of faith, as a community, as a family. This is a small church. This is a family. We support one another, but it doesn't end there. So, think of ourselves as some version of the Magi in a way, where we're a bit naive, no matter how wise we think we are. But we're being called by God to do things. We're being called and led down our own paths, using our own gifts, whatever they may be. Again, I've said this before, it could be the gift of being able to stand up and just, whatever this is that I'm doing to you. It could be the gift of music. It could be the gift of writing. It could be the gift of serving our homeless. It could be, you name it. Each of you has a gift, at least one. God has blessed you with some gift that when we bring them together collectively, we form one amazing team. Everyone brings something to the table in this family. And as we go throughout 2019, you are going to see opportunities for your gift to be used. You're going to feel that nudge by God. You're going to feel that call. You're going to hear that little voice that you don't know where it's coming from saying, this is where I need you to serve. This is where I need you to be. This is what I need you to do right now. My prayer for 2019 is that you heed that call, that you don't shy away from it. No matter how daunting it may be, no matter how resistant you may be to stepping up, maybe you're a kind of a quiet behind the scenes person, but this is your moment where your gift is needed. And that we join together and we continue to make this world a better place. We do not let the negativity of the world outshine the love of the people in this room. We don't let the 24-hour news cycle dictate the way that we stand up for what is right in the world. We lead. We take the steps forward, no matter how hard it may seem. Are you in? Yes. Amen.